Ay, kumisik na.
It started as one of those perfect mornings on Mexico's Pacific coast, calm, bright, and peaceful. The kind of day Puerto Vallarta is loved for. But by midday, everything changed. The ocean started to roar. Waves grew bigger and louder every few minutes. And before anyone could fully process what was happening, massive walls of water, nearly 16 feet high, came crashing into the shore. Streets turned into rivers. Cars drifted like toys. Beachfront restaurants and bars were swallowed by seawater. The shocking part? Hurricane Priscilla, a Category 2 storm, wasn't even on land. It was spinning hundreds of miles out at sea. But even from that distance, its power was enough to push the Pacific Ocean straight into the city. Puerto Vallarta never saw the eye of the storm, but it absolutely felt its fury. In just a few hours, this sunny tourist paradise went from peaceful to panic-stricken. A powerful reminder that you don't have to be in a hurricane's direct path to experience its destruction. By early afternoon, fear spread across the coastline. The beaches, usually crowded with tourists, were suddenly empty, covered in sea foam and debris. Red flags lined the coast, warning everyone to stay far from the water. Local officials quickly declared a coastal emergency as waves slammed over the Mazatlan seawall, flooding nearby streets and shops. Videos online showed waves swallowing sidewalks, knocking down palm trees, and slamming into parked cars. Restaurant owners rushed to block their doors with sandbags as salty water poured through the streets. At the city's port, docks were destroyed and small fishing boats were tossed around like paper. Authorities urged residents to stay indoors and warned tourists not to get too close for selfies or videos. One civil protection officer put it simply, "The danger isn't the wind or the rain right now. It's the ocean itself." Meteorologists later explained that Priscilla's intense winds and low pressure triggered a storm surge, a sudden rise in sea level that can flood entire neighborhoods, even without the hurricane making landfall. For Puerto Vallarta, it was a haunting reminder of just how far a hurricane's reach can go, and how fast paradise can turn into chaos. By the time night fell, Puerto Vallarta didn't even look like itself anymore. The streets that once buzzed with music, laughter, and tourists had turned into rivers of rushing water and blaring sirens. On Francisco Medina Asensio Avenue, the city's main road, cars sat half underwater, headlights flickering beneath the brown floodwater. Emergency teams moved through knee-deep water, helping people trapped in vehicles and homes. Local authorities issued an urgent warning. The storm surge had pushed several meters inland, flooding hotels, restaurants, and even gas stations. In the Versailles neighborhood, one fuel station was completely underwater. Crews worked around the clock to cut power and close gas lines, trying to prevent explosions. One official said, "We've never seen the sea rise this fast. It feels like the ocean is breathing down our necks." Down at the pier, waves ripped apart wooden walkways and sent debris flying into the bay. City workers and volunteers piled sandbags to hold back the flood, but the water just kept coming. Still, even in all the chaos, the community refused to give up. Neighbors helped each other clear debris. Businesses opened their doors to stranded tourists. And first responders fought through exhaustion to save as many lives as they could. When morning finally came, Puerto Vallarta looked like a battlefield. Mud, debris, and seawater covered the streets. Workers in orange vests waded through standing water, restoring power and clearing drains. For many residents, it was the first time they'd seen the damage up close. The air was thick with salt and gasoline, and the once lively waterfront now stood silent. Cleanup teams worked non-stop, shoveling sand, sweeping broken glass, and removing twisted metal from the roads. Puerto Vallarta may have been battered, but its spirit was still standing strong. Utility crews worked around the clock to fix downed power lines, while city engineers checked bridges and seawalls for damage. Near the marina, restaurant owners and small shopkeepers were left counting their losses. Broken windows, soaked furniture, and kitchens filled with mud and debris. But even in the middle of all that destruction, there was hope. Volunteers showed up to hand out bottled water and hot meals. Hotels opened their doors to stranded tourists. Firefighters kept pumping water out of flooded neighborhoods well into the night. Officials warned it could take weeks before the city's infrastructure is fully restored. But the spirit of the community, that stayed strong. In a public statement, the mayor promised, Puerto Vallarta will rebuild, stronger, safer, and ready for tomorrow. Even though Hurricane Priscilla never officially made landfall in Puerto Vallarta, its impact was devastating. The real threat didn't come from rain or wind. It came from the sea itself. A storm surge happens when hurricane winds and low air pressure push the ocean upward, creating a massive dome of water that crashes onto the shore. Priscilla's 100-mile-per-hour winds pushed that surge straight into the Bay of Banderas. What followed was a wall of water nearly 15 feet high, swallowing streets and flooding homes within minutes. Experts explained that Puerto Vallarta's geography makes it especially at risk. Its deep bay works like a funnel, amplifying the incoming waves. And with the seasonal high tides in early October, there was nowhere for that water to go but inland. Meteorologists say this is a harsh reminder. Hurricanes don't have to make landfall to cause catastrophic flooding. Warmer ocean temperatures, now roughly 2 degrees higher than normal, are fueling storms like Priscilla, giving them more power to push the sea inland. When the waves finally receded, what was left behind were stories of fear, courage, and survival. Maria Lopez, who owns a small cafe near the Malecon, recalled, "We thought the storm was far away. There was no rain, no warning, just the ocean getting louder and louder. Then suddenly, the water was at our door." Across the bay, fishermen watched helplessly as boats broke free from their docks and slammed into seawalls. One man shouted over the roar of the water, "This wasn't a storm, it was the ocean rising." Emergency teams raced through flooded streets. Cars floated down the main avenue like toys in a bathtub. Civil Protection Officer Jorge Ramirez said, "We pulled people from vehicles trapped in rushing water. It was chaos, but we never stopped." Puerto Vallarta now faces a long road to recovery. But through the wreckage, one thing is clear: the heart of the city still beats strong. Some people were screaming, others couldn't even speak. Everyone was terrified. By nightfall, hotels opened their doors to stranded travelers. Locals shared blankets, food, and stories under candlelight. In that darkness, one truth became painfully clear: the ocean can destroy in minutes, but it takes years for a community to rebuild. There it is, coming in. There it is. You can hear the panic as the floodwaters rise. Puerto Vallarta's flooding wasn't just a local disaster, it was a global wake-up call. Scientists warn that storms like this are becoming more common as ocean temperatures climb and sea levels continue to rise. The Pacific Ocean, once predictable, has become a wild card. Every extra degree of warming gives hurricanes more fuel, stronger winds, heavier rain, and surges that can swallow entire cities. Urban planners and emergency teams across Mexico are calling for action: stronger seawalls, smarter drainage systems, and real-time flood alerts that can save lives. But this message doesn't stop at the border. Coastal cities across the U.S., from Miami to Galveston, San Diego to Honolulu, face the same ticking clock. This is what the future looks like, warns meteorologist Carlos Ramirez, who's tracked Pacific hurricanes for over 20 years. Even when a storm doesn't make landfall, its power can still reach you. For Puerto Vallarta, recovery means more than fixing roads or drying homes. It means rethinking how to live beside the sea. The water may have receded, but the fear lingers, a reminder that nature always has the final say. Because in this age of climate extremes, the next storm is never far away. As lights return to Puerto Vallarta, the scars of Hurricane Priscilla remain: broken streets, flooded homes, and memories that won't fade. Yet among the wreckage, there's hope. Neighbors helping neighbors, strangers becoming heroes. A city proving that when the ocean rises, the human spirit can rise even higher. What happened here isn't isolated. From Florida's Gulf Coast to California's cliffs, millions of people live along that same fragile line. Between beauty and danger, the ocean gives and it takes. And as our planet warms, these moments of chaos will come faster, stronger, and closer to home. So ask yourself, are we ready for what comes next? If the story moved you, don't let it end here. Like this video to support the people who lived through the storm. Share it to spread awareness about our changing world. And subscribe, because knowing what's coming is the first step toward preparing for it. Stay safe, stay aware, and remember, the next wave always begins with a single ripple.